The new Lomi Bloom is finally here. So we originally had the Lomi Bipella, which was marketed as an electric composter. Lomi has rebranded, and now they're calling this Lomi Smart Waste Appliance. So it's the first smart waste appliance which dehydrates and grinds up our food waste, and it's not being marketed as an electric composter, which I think is a great thing for Lomi to be doing, because we've known for a long time this is not a composter. The finished product is not compost. I've always considered the finished product to be something that enhances your garden. Now they're calling the end product Lomi Earth. And I did do a little test to see if there's a difference. I think this one from the original one is just a little grainier, whereas the cycle for the new Lomi Bloom was longer, even though I did them both on the same cycle, which was for Lomi products, Lomi approved products, because I put the bag that this came in here. And I wish that you could feel it, because this is just finer and fluffier. I'll do a little close-up so you can see the difference. Other than marketing differently and calling this a smart waste appliance, there really aren't a whole lot of differences. The new Lomi Bloom has a clear top, which is really fun. I enjoy it just as much as my kids. We can look down while it's processing, and it's kind of cool just to see, is it grinding, is it dehydrating, what's going on? I think that the new Lomi Bloom closes easier. I can do it with one hand. I know this sounds silly, but when I was taking videos of the original Lomi, I would often have a hard time putting it on. And it just slides a little bit easier. I do think that the finished product on the new Lomi Bloom is just a little better, but they're both dehydrators and grinders. The buckets are pretty much the same, different color, pretty much the same size. Once again, I find that this one fits in a little better. For some reason, it just seems a little easier to get in. Shape, pretty much the same. I find that this one's just a little taller, a little skinnier. And then we can take a closer dive at the buttons. So I'm going to show you some of the differences. It's pretty much the same. You still have the Lomi approved products, eco mode, and then the grow mode. So grow, eco mode, so eco express, and Lomi approved. The one I just did was Lomi approved because I put the bag in there. I typically tend to do the eco express because I'm all right with it just being quick and not using a whole lot of energy. But the best one would be the grow mode. And if you're using the grow mode, you want to make sure to use the Lomi pod. When you put the Lomi pod in there, it just adds more microbes, and it makes it a lot better for your plants. So that end product, the Lomi Earth, is going to be a little bit easier to go onto your plants and actually serve as a soil amendment. One of the major differences between the Lomi Bloom and the original Lomi is the Wi-Fi accessibility. I find this to be really cool because the Wi-Fi connects to an app, and then you're able to see how much food you've kept out of landfill. So you're accountable for the food that you bring into your house, what's being wasted. Instead of sending it to a landfill, you get to see how much food you've kept out of landfill. So I find that to be kind of fun, exciting. I used to do that at summer camp. We used to do a ORT report where we would put all of the leftover food into a bucket, and then we put it on a scale, and we would see how much food we wasted, and then we'd try to waste less at the next meal. So I think that's kind of the same concept. It's really fun for the kids to follow along, and also gives you an idea of your environmental impact. So what can you put into your Lomi? I can help you out with that. All right, a very common question is, what can I put into my Lomi? All right, I love this because it tells you easily, go for it. Of course, fruit and vegetable scraps, food leftovers, plate scrapings. This is what comes in handy for me because I don't want to put a lot of my plate scrapings into my worm bin, but it's something I can put into my Lomi. Meat scraps, same thing, seafood, fish bones, eggs and eggshells. These, like this right here, this is why I have a Lomi. I love putting these things into my Lomi. Coffee grounds, grains, oats, legumes, plant and yard trimmings, nuts and seeds, soft peels. In small amounts, dairy products. Once again, you don't want to put that into your normal compost pile. Fruit rinds and fibers peels, same thing, small amounts. I don't like to put those into my worm bin because my worms just don't like it. Nut butters, pizza pasta, syrups and confectionery items, and Lomi approved products and packaging. So this is all small amounts. These are things I would never, ever put into my traditional compost bin. And I love that they tell you never, okay? No bones, no cooking oils and butter, fruit pits, cooked potatoes, popcorn kernels, nutshells, liquids, metal, plastic, glass, branches, animal waste, and hygiene products. Now, I would like to say that that's common sense, but it might not be for some people, especially the cooking oils and butter. I think a lot of the first electric composters marketed themselves as being able to process cooking oils and butter, and it's just not going to make healthy soils. So I love that Lomi, with their smart appliance, is saying, no, stay away from that. Overall, if you're choosing between the two, I would say, I guess, the most eco-friendly thing to do would be to get a refurbished original Lomi, because it's going to be a little bit cheaper, most likely. You're keeping it out of the landfill by buying something that's been used. If you like the newest technology, you really want to have the Wi-Fi, I would go for the Lomi Bloom. I think the main thing we need to consider here is that Lomi made a step in the right direction by rebranding Lomi Bloom as a smart waste appliance, staying away from the fact that it makes compost, and making sure that the end product is an eco-earth. Because that's the goal here. The goal really isn't to be making nutrient-rich finished compost. The goal here is to keep food out of a landfill. We take food out of the earth, we eat it, and then all of our leftovers end up in a plastic bag in a landfill. And that's just silly, okay? If we have anything left over, it really should be going back to the earth. We know that our soils are depleted of nutrients that we used to have 50, 100 years ago. Our food doesn't have the same nutrients, and it's because we're taking those nutrients and we're putting it in a plastic bag and we're putting it in the landfill. I will always say that the best thing to do, or the best way to compost, is just a compost heap in your backyard. But these days, it's not easy to do. A lot of people live in an apartment, a lot of people live in an HOA. You might not have green waste pickup in your municipality. Your city might not pick it up. You might not have a private private residential compost service, but you can put your food waste into here. You can dehydrate it, you can grind it up, and then you can throw it out into your garden. You can put it in your yard. You can put it into your compost bin. I think the cool thing about this is that you can put meat in it. I would absolutely never, ever put meat into my compost bin, or my compost pile, my compost tumbler, my worm bin. I've got a lot of different compost systems. I'd never, ever put meat there. With Lomi, I can process my meat, I can put it into my bins, whichever bin I want to, and I know that it's going to return back to the earth. Either the worms are going to take care of it, the microbes in my big bins are going to take care of it, and I'm not putting something into a plastic bag to go into a landfill. I love teaching people about compost, and I love sharing all the new smart appliances, electric composters, worm bins, compost tumblers. If you're interested in learning more about compost, please go to thecompostculture.com. I'll put the info down below. And subscribe, like, follow. I'm here to answer any of your questions. I'd love to hear from you.